You are joining this session. Welcome to another exciting session of overseas education related session. And today we have a very interesting personality, which who may not qualify as a typical student, was a beginner. He has, I would say, wonderful experience with multi well-known brand. Whether you take Infosys, whether you take Dabur, and then a couple of more very important organizations where he had been including a big consulting firm like EY, then Sun Pharma and all that. And he, of course, has studied at XLRI. So despite having all these varied kind of experiences and very enriching experiences, he still found out that there is a lot of value to be derived by pursuing a overseas academic program. And he also runs his own HR firm. So thank you, Mr. Bijay, for taking out your time. I know that you are from UK to India. You have a little amount of time to spend with family and friends. So thank you sparing that important time for us.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for welcoming me on this particular call. It is a pleasure that I share my experience to my professional juniors. I know that some of the professional juniors at some point in time will be able to work with me or may be able to actually give me a reverse kind of mentoring. So this particular platform actually gives me a privilege that where I connect my professional juniors, I try to understand a lot from them, and with the process, I share my experiences. So it is
Okay.
a mutually exclusive process as far as the mentoring, reverse mentoring is concerned. So I'm very happy to be a part of it. Yes, of course, the family and friends are very important when I'm in India, but nevertheless, this particular thing is a passion, and today with this kind of passion that we are actually discussing a lot about it. So, Dr. Siddharth, so over to you to actually guide me that what particular, how do you want me to structure my interaction,
Sure,
orientation, and all these things.
sure. So, going forward, if you could just talk about what kind of industry experience you have, in what all roles did you work on, and what all did you learn in this process? Because you have substantial experience with very well-known brands and different industries, which is very enriching.
Sure. So, Dr. Siddharth, so thanks a lot. But I've been graduated from NIT Rourkela. So it is one of the prestigious institution in India. And from a mechanical engineering, actually, I was expected to join a engineering firm as such. But my passion at that time was a very different. So I was thinking that why I should not actually exercise my option going firm. Uh, I'm so sorry, Dr. Siddharth.
No, no problem, no problem. Please carry on.
What I was saying is that I was actually interested in going into the mechanical part of it, but somehow I didn't like that particular kind of work because that where you will be not be designing or drawing anything. But I thought of going into one step back. I said that okay, software engineering may be a good option to go by it, and that is the time when software engineering actually that particular path was actually growing, and there was immense visibility. So I got myself trained in Bangalore, in Chennai, and in Bhubaneswar. Even went into Cupertino, USA, to actually deploy some of the solutions from Infosys to those countries. So my initial interaction was with Apple. Apple as being a corporate brand that where I was working with them, and to be very honest, it was not the same Apple that which we are looking at it. So at that time, we used to use see Apple iPhone 2, Apple iPhone 2s, and those kind of features. And Macintosh used to be very bulky in nature, and it was very difficult to find a Macintosh laptop as well. So that is the time that when I went into Apple, deployed some of the internal solutions, and then again came back. But somewhere down the line that I felt that okay, why not going into a management program? So I applied for management program. I actually wrote many examinations, and luckily in XLRI examination, that is JAT, so I scored 99.89 percentile, which is I stood second in India, and that is where I got myself placed in one of the HR stream. I like this particular stream because it is more connected with the people. It is more connected with the sharing your ambition. It is more connected with sharing the vision. So I started my humble journey with a promoter-driven organization, and typically it is Mr. Rajinder Gupta who was interviewed and selected me. He was the chairman of that Trident Group at that point of time, and under his leadership, I actually helped the organization to commission one of the largest paper and textile manufacturing firm in India. and that is the place that where I used to deliver a lot of HR solutions.
Okay.
Obviously, at that point of time, organization was not in a good shape. But when I actually handed over my responsibility to somebody, a professional junior, I could actually vouch and say that I established something called as a performance management system. I established the reward recognition, improved the employee engagement score, a lot of compliances that I actually worked on. Then suddenly I moved into another pharmaceutical company, and both in manufacturing and a quality organization. And it is one of the first blue chip company of India, that is Ranbaxy Laboratories. But company was actually in very big problem. So rather than actually talking about both in compliances, manufacturing, but organization wise, they have some of the system and the processes that which many of the IT companies may not have. So they
Okay.
used to have matured system in order to understand the people, the evaluation process. It is the first company to have the EPMS system, performance management system in electronic media, and the competency assignment. Talk about role development, every aspect of it. I actually like the Ranbaxy.
Okay.
So I was not directly into HR, so I was partly into strategy part of it. So redesigning of organization, competency mapping, some of the very next terms that I'm talking about is basically very core of my heart. But these are some of the things that which I worked on. And then I moved into a consulting firm, and this is where that I started working with ENY, and looked into different aspect of delivering the solutions. Okay, so I started with the first ENY's Global Share Service Center, and this is the center that we used to look after all the service lines, and they used to support all the particular business verticals starting from India and Middle East, and slowly we were trying to expand into Africa and those regions. But it was a very nice experience. I joined Volvo, a engineering company in its all means. I worked abroad in Dabur International Limited. Role was actually to harmonize every aspect. So some of the countries that which I have never worked on started coming into me, like UK, USA, all Southeast Asia, and other countries actually came down to me. Then back home in India, I joined another company called as Mylan Laboratories, which later on become the Viatris. And from that particular Viatris, I actually had three role changes in 6 years. Predominantly one in corporate HR, moved into the injectable HR head vertical, then going into the share service vertical and also global function vertical. So that is where I mostly spend my time. And after that, I started my own company, Renanza Populous, where I was doing a lot of consulting assignment for India and abroad.
Okay.
But all
Wonderful.
particular thing has happened, but something that which was lacking in me, that what next? And this
Okay.
is where that I said that okay, let me go down to an education stream, and where I need to expand my knowledge base. And typically, once you have graduated near about 16, 17 years back from an education institute, probably that you have been reading all histories, but rather than adding any new knowledge or new domain in your kitty. And that is the where that which I felt that yes, this is the time that where I need to actually explore my career. In fact, my family problem and other thing has been all been settled out to a large extent in terms of actually managing finances, settling down every aspect of it has been taken care. Now I am moved into UK for my PhD program.
Okay.
Under the
So,
yeah.
if you could just talk about how did you go about narrowing down on a program as
uh,
well as a particular maybe country to pursue this academic experience?
See, this particular, it is not an easy solution for me, because after having experience of around 16, 17 years, you cannot be feeling like you are a novice in the system, and you need to work on certain things that which can be implemented across. So I was thinking that which particular topic that I should be actually carrying on through. So it took me near about 3 to 4 months actually to narrowing down a topic that on which that I like to be working on. So first of all, some of the practical experience that which I have seen, like people are talking about literacy, people are talking about ethical violation, people are talking about a lot many compliance issues and every aspect of it. But one thing that which actually cuts across all the vertical is ethics, governance, and leadership. And I was trying to find out a beautiful name into my PhD thesis so that it can be more approachable to a professor that which I'll be actually talking about.
Okay.
And when I started looking into all the professors, that my PhD topic is actually more or less finalized, that is ethics and leadership paradox, and how you manage both for the organization growth. It is very much relevant in earlier occasion when we are talking about that leaders were more prone to, let us say, the financial year performances. They are supposed to measure their financial metrics before getting into it. On this particular basis, that they actually ignore ethics part of it. Okay, many companies were actually burned out of this particular syndrome. Lehman Brothers being the largest one, Ranbaxy is the second largest. India case, you talk about Satyam. So all these particular verticals that if you talk about everywhere, there is a ethics and governance issue, and which has impacted leadership, and organization suffered a lot.
Agreed.
But despite all this particular process, there are some organizations which are also having a bright light. Example being the Tata groups, right?
Agreed.
Example being all the public sectors in India, that is not having enough opportunity for the leadership option to exercise on. But ethics, governance principle, and all these things are very mature process. So what actually makes it different? Now, if I look into, let us say, 20 years back, we call about fatigue, we call about something as a short term result focus areas for the leadership issues. But right now it has gone into much bigger area. So, for example, if I talk about artificial intelligence, how it is impacting our leadership, how artificial intelligence is actually helping you in getting into innovation. And typically, I can say about all innovations, being it creative or non-creative, definitely violates the ethical principle. Now, if you actually try to talk about ethics, ignore ethics, you can grow the business and later on take care of the ethics part of it. You may survive, but you may need to pay a lot of penalties. You talk about any company like Microsoft, Google, or any other companies, they are facing huge penalties across US and Europe. The only reason is that there is an ethical violation, and they are being very creative, and they are still existing. But at the same time, we cannot call this as an organization that where we like to actually work on for a longer period of time. So on this particular topic, I said there is lesser research that has happened in the academic world on this particular field. Then I need to actually zero down on the professors that I need to be working on with. So it started with the US, it started with Germany, even I looked into France, the different big universities that where these particular two subjects are actually merging together. Fortunately, unfortunately, I can actually tell you in the last 10 to 12 years, ethics being as a subject, which is the integrated part of the business management, but not having a separate identity altogether. And this particular identity, every big university has actually lost it. For example, Oxford, or if you talk about UCL, or if you talk about KCL, all these universities actually lost the touch on ethics. Then I found out a university that where ethics is actually predominantly being taught and also been practiced, not through the process of formalizing process. They actually give a lot of instances, implications to the environment, to, let us say, the students community, to the inclusive community of the minority people, and all this particular aspect. So I found out this. I zeroed down on the professor that who will be more interested to guide me. Okay, fortunately, my professors, Maria, Hannah, and Dr. God bless, they have been really supportive in order to actually get me into this particular step. When they heard about the topic, they were saying that you are having a lot of variables, you are having a lot of passion and energy. How do you channelize it? So I said that this channelization part, for this I am coming down to the university. Otherwise, by sitting on the desk, I can actually complete my thesis, which is not the case. So that is where that I am landed over there. And right now, whatever I am doing, it is actually merging into this particular thing. And more importantly, what I can actually foresee in the future is, tomorrow if an organization need to be sustainable, it cannot be sustainable based on the sustainability agenda. It can only be sustainable only when that you follow a ethical and established guiding principle, and how you actually set up your business norms. That is what is going to be important. Even you can forego your short-term profits, but on the long-term sustainability, this is important. So organization has started working on equality principle, and even government has started working on this particular act in 2010 in the UK. But however, in other part of the world, it is not yet established. If you look into some of the mature companies like Unilever or Tata Group, they have a chief ethics officer being sitting over there, and this is a newly created designation. So how this particular thing is actually being stepping over the period of the time, that is what my focus area on the research project.
So this is a very beautiful topic, and even we, let's say, we draw on our experiences from the Indian context, and as you can say, as pervasive as maybe conducting even, let's say, competitive exams,
True.
and we have seen whether it's NEET is concerned or UGC NET is concerned,
Right.
whether you take Bihar or maybe other parts of the country.
Right.
This has been, of course, putting a big, very big question mark on the so-called bureaucrats as well as politicians' ability to govern. And of course, it concerns our future generations where people would spend lakhs and lakhs of rupees, thousands and thousands of hours of kids. Parents would equally be stressed out, children would equally be stressed out, and then ultimately something happens.
True.
So, of course, a very, very important area, very important topic, not just from private entities, but of course from public institutions also now.
True. True.
Uh, a particular also basing on our conversation which we had in our earlier meetings,
Sure.
since of course you talked about that you worked in various kind of organizations, and then of course you earn decent amount of money and then some financial stability. Of course, you have been able to have
Right.
given you your experiences of course meeting the cost of the study as well as the living cost is one of the prime areas where students also a bit hesitate in going, let's say, on an overseas location. So
True.
what all various venues which you have found out where maybe students can utilize to maybe fund part of their maybe whatever education expenses as well as living expenses are.
True, Dr. Siddharth, it is a very valid question. And because of this, my particular PhD program has actually delayed by near about a year. And it is about all about arranging the finances and how do you try to sustain for without having a proper right job in your hand. And typical case for many of the countries is that whenever you are on a student visa, you have an access to work for only 20 hours in a week. And that too, again, you cannot work on a full time. You do not have access to any of the public funds. So this is one of the constraint that which many students will be facing in future, and currently they are also facing. Second is that in the university you have ample avenues actually to support your studies.
Okay.
Ample avenues. For example, some of the part-time jobs that you can actually look into in your university. So being a PhD student, and I can actually teach in my university, and which is limited to 20 hours in a week. So this includes whether you do a lecture, then you prepare for the lecture, you evaluate the answer scripts, okay, and ultimately being a shadow to a teacher. I have been accredited to British higher education authorities in a associate fellowship, which gives me access that what kind of actually teaching methodologies that I promote, and this is a practical learning experience that I am getting it through. Okay, so with this particular process, I try to develop myself that which can actually be a transferable skills to my professional juniors. I'm not saying students, professional juniors. So be it, let us say, remote working principle. I may be working outside, but the students may be in the classroom. So these are the principle. Presentation skills, new way of actually teaching. How do you include the people that who are not so able as far as the general students are concerned? So you'll be learning those kind of skills. So being a PhD student, I have access to this. Second, I am actually writing some of the my research proposal in a very beautiful way, and the research proposal I'll be actually sending it to the UKRI, so United Kingdom Research Institute, which is actually a apex institute as far as the research is concerned. So with the passage of the proposal and the novelty, and I'm very sure that I'll be getting a scholarship out of it.
Oh,
So the university gives me a teaching assistantship, which actually helps me in developing myself being a teacher or lecturer in future. At the same time, university, I will be getting some fund from the research institute, which actually funds me all this particular providing this kind of information. And the third is that you can actually work as a part-time tutor in other subjects also, not
oh,
related to your subject. So these are the avenues that you can actually look into first. So this is the first one inside the university. Outside the university, based on your experiences, there are organizations who can offer you the jobs. It may so happen that the British UK government can actually offer me a civil service job in the areas of expertise that which I'm actually looking to for, and they are all part-time opportunities. In addition to that, I will get a National Health Services, which is actually the largest NGO that in UK you can actually work for there. There are also opportunities which are available in the form of a freelancing, so you can work over there, and you can participate in the largest research-based group also.
oh,
So this way that you can actually fund your education, and mostly PhDs are actually self-funded, and typical period that you can complete all your PhD is in and around 2 to 3 years in between.
oh.
In between this period that you will be getting your PhD, and then you can start earning for yourself.
Sure, sure.
So this is what is going to be a path mark. But in addition to it, there are opportunities available both in-house, out-house. If you are not getting any kind of support, you will be getting some support in the form of a crowdsourcing. Okay, so many of the voluntary organizations or maybe philanthropies, they can actually sponsor your education to a large extent. There are industry bodies which I am also approaching, like Unilever, Procter and Gamble, McKinsey, even BCG. They can actually sponsor some part of it. So with this, I think it is a possibility to get into that particular forum. As I told, this is a multiple channel, and the real issue basically comes when you try to approach the problem, and then you will be able to find a solution. But more importantly, yes, anywhere, if you are a deserving candidate and if you are aspiring to do a research in unknown areas, there are philanthropy organization, even your university, even research institute, even your job, part-time shadowing through the professor, they can come in ample. And I think this is one of the opportunity which I may or may not be getting in India, but yes, in abroad I can.
Sure, sure. Yes, thank you for a very, I would say, very structured manner and comprehensively touching upon various opportunities, avenues available.
Right.
Now, apart from, let's say, the typical academic program, what are different avenues for a candidate who's, let's say, on a foreign or in a country academic program to get immersed into the environment? What are other avenues available other than the academics, as far as
Okay.
maybe student-related activities, all these activities?
Okay, student-related activities are prominent in many of the university, and typically in any university culture, you will have access to many other cultural or maybe even student-related forums that you can actually be part of it. There is a student union where you can approach with any kind of solution, be it, let us say, your mental issue, health issue, or you may be facing some issues on financially, or if you are finding difficult to understand certain subject, or if you want actually the subject, the examination need to be retaken. So those are some of the avenues that as a student council member, when somebody goes into those environment, they can directly immerse into it and they can take a support out of it. There is another avenue that where they say as a career opportunities. Okay, so career opportunity is another platform where you talk to different recruiters, you pitch in your skills, and they actually invite you for actually demonstrating those kind of skills through an interview or any other process. And university professionals in the career development division, they actually support you in that. There are also avenues in the library where you are not in a position to actually research some of the materials. There are support available. If you want a help on a statistical analysis, there are also support available that where you can actually get all this particular facility. So you are not alone in the university, to be very honest. So if you are facing any mental issues, there are also counselors are available. If you are actually conducting a cultural activity, or if you want to be a brand ambassador for certain companies, or if you want to support the university in locally fundraising certain kind of issues, those avenues are available. And to be very honest, the UK is the kind of let us say acclimatization which the UK environment has actually given me. It is truly very very generous, and I say as a particular principle that yes, the moment you immerse into the program, you are not alone. There are thousands of forces that which are there with you to support you in realizing your aspiration. If you want to be a professional footballer, or maybe a golfer, or maybe actually a dance artist, or maybe supporting a philanthropic activity, or maybe helping some of the professor to conducting a better research or writing research proposal, you are welcomed. And
Oh,
university also helps you in all these particular avenues. So I cannot tell you which particular clubs are there. Yes, universities have a lot of clubs. If
sure.
you want to have a tasty food from India, there is a club available. Okay,
Okay.
so this is the kind of thing that which is available around, and plenty of areas that where you can actually improve both in your leadership skills, presentation skills. You can actually look into your how do you carry out certain kind of activities in a very different way, whether you will be in a position to support the university to go for a fundraising, or maybe the annual let us say welcoming thing or validatory function, or handing over the certificate, those kind of things. You can also partner with the university, and the professors are amazing professor. If you are on the let us say bias towards education, forces are there to help you out.
Wonderful. So thank you for sharing all these thoughts. Now we are at the end of the session. So drawing upon your corporate experience as an engineer, as well as having this academic immersion experience, if you have to suggest maybe let's say 4, 5 or 3, 4, you can say pointers to candidates who are aspiring to go for maybe let's say overseas education. What are those 3, 4 points would be so that they could make most out of this experience, not just maybe let's say academically, but overall in personality improvement as well as networking and all those areas.
One thing that which I will be telling you, that your skills are never a waste. If you are having a skill, let us say networking, or maybe working, or having a computer proficiency, your skill may be used somewhere or the other. Okay, so that is one thing that which I will be telling the professional juniors to actually highlight as a USP point, because everybody is unique, and uniqueness need to be actually highlighted whatever form that we are writing in. Okay, so it may be let us say a compelling covering letter, or it may be something like an SOP, or maybe in a recommendation letter. Everywhere this particular USP has to be put into a picture. So that is one. Number two, we need to be very sharp and razor focused at what we want to achieve. Okay, it may take some time for us to realize, and not following the herd mentality is one thing that which I'll be suggesting to everyone. You are unique. You decide that what is the unique thing that you want to do, and if you want to be a filmmaker, please go ahead and do it. If you want to be actually a dramatist, please go ahead and do it. If you want to be a sports person, what stops you? Right? So world is there actually to support you in achieving your own goal. So identify what is your strength and what particular thing that you need to embark on. And this is actually a very difficult process, because it comes with the individual aspiration. It cannot be copy pasted from one person to the another person. This is
Agree.
the second thing that which I want people to understand and realize. Third is, I do not see that if you have a PhD from Harvard, or if you have a PhD from, let us say, Oxford, or if you have a PhD from any Tom, Dick, and Harry institute in any part of the India, I don't see there is any difference. But you need to be committed to whatever that you are doing.
Sure.
The world is there. World is there. Obviously, the Harvard people are getting much better resources, but despite lacking the resources, we have actually achieved a lot.
Mhm.
Now, bank on this particular thing. Always to be biased towards certain kind of activity that which you are liking to explore more on. Fourth point is, don't look into employability as a final percent. Employability is an outcome of whatever your competency and whatever the career, whatever the framework that you have so far developed. And this particular thing comes with a rigorous practice. And to be very honest, sir, there is no shortcut to hard work.
Agree.
So either I read a lot, practice a lot, reflect, write a lot. That improves my the entire channel. And if you are following a herd mentality, such as, let us say, applying 7 universities in a fraction of a time, probably you can get it done by through a chat GPT or any other mechanism. But ultimately, when it comes down to actually reflecting your unique role, unique personality, I think that you are helping AI rather than helping yourself.
Mhm.
So, in short and totality, I am actually going to tell you that do not be in a hurry actually to take up a higher education. Think of that whether it is actually apt for you to do it right now. World in I have seen in many part of the world, people are entering the PhD at the age of 70, and it is totally a big number to actually talk about. But
Mhm.
something who is actually inclined or biased towards an education definitely would like to have it, and the world is supporting to all this aspiration. So do not be in a hurry. Think about that what you want to achieve may or may not be reflecting your further career growth, but something that which is going to be more fulfilling to yourself. That is what I can actually tell them.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Vijay, for sharing all the insights, drawing from your own personal experiences, and of course, you have plenty of them. And so, the candidates, whoever are watching this session, and maybe let's say in future also will watch, the crux of the matter is that there is world to support you. You have to just reach out, and you would find support system, and the focus should, of course, be something at which you should target, build focus. So, thank you, Mr. Vijay, for taking out this time, and thank you everyone who joined this session.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for your time, and wonderful talking to you. And Dr. Siddharth has been a wonderful person, actually been interacting with me for near about last 6 months. And there is a lot of camaraderie that has happened in between us. And we kept on that particular momentum. And sir, I'll be very happy that if you can include me in those sessions as well, because it is the point that where I try to actually give a lot more insight that whichever I felt, and probably my experience can actually help somebody that who is in need. And
Sure,
with this kind of motto, that I wish everybody a success, good health, and a good future as well. And thank you, Dr. Siddharth, for providing me a platform where I shared all my experiences with all the participants all together. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your
Thank
time.
you, Mr. Vijay. Very kind of
Thank you.
you.